Alright, welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner Classic Non-Classics. This is episode number 2112 and Doubleshot 2006. Now, I got two X-Men trades. Now, this also is the first of two comic cores I'm doing today. I'm doing one more after that, and that's it. Okay? First up we have is X-Men 92 House of X, well, probably a House of 92. Yep, this is basically the X-Men 92 animated series. This is their take on the Krakatoa stuff that's happened in the past few years. Yep, this is basically their take on it. Where it follows them a path, but doesn't have a lot of the stuff people don't like about Krakatoa. It's like, what if Krakatoa was done better, but with the cast of the X-Men 2 animated series? Yep, that's the big premise of this miniseries. It's only 5 issues. You're probably thinking, does the previous writers, did they write this book, Chris Sims and Chris Bowers? Nope. This book is done by Steve Fox. Well, Steve Fox. Yep. With Sylvia Espin as the artist. Now, simply put, we have the X-Men taking on the Orca, the Mastermind. Basically, first we have, in the first issue, we have take on the events of House of X, Powers of X, with the formation of Krakatoa, and of course, also the thing with the Master Mode satellite. Though, the thing with Master Mode is, this particular version, when they have show up in here, it's the one based upon one from the 60s for some reason. I do not know why, but that's basically what it is. Yep. The Bolivar Trask, who actually was not in the original story. As a matter of fact, at the time of the original story, Bolivar Trask was dead. He had been long dead by the time the story came out, so they just threw him in because, he's not in the original story, so. Oh, by the way, Xavier's helmet is different. Also, he's still in the wheelchair because at the time when the story first started, basically about 4 years ago, Xavier had not needed to use a wheelchair since 2005. Yes. One of the side effects of House of M is that it restored Xavier's use of his legs, which still affect this very day. It goes like Krakatoa. We have basic amount of pods. Yep. But I think the line was a little different than it was in the original story. So, yeah, so we basically have a flashback of the series when the Sentinels attacking the school. Jubilee is not part of this line, but of course we have the formation of the Orcaga school, which is made up of Henry Peter Gyrick, Lady Deathstrike, Bolivar Trask, who's in the mind of a Sentinel, and Donald Pierce. Now, here's the strange thing though about this lineup. Apparently, in the case, I think it was Bolivar Trask, apparently he was in love with Lady Deathstrike. I do not know the reason for this. Now, you're probably thinking, why the heck is Harry Peter Gyrick depicted here as a bigot? Even though in the big Marvel Universe, he's not really like that at all. Well, there's a reason for that. The reason is because that's how the series depicted him. As a bigot. Now, here's the thing. Henry Peter Gyrick from the Avenger comics. They included them in because, basically, why not? They needed a character who was not associated with the X-Men. So, and then we see Jubilee playing a video game. Yes, a video game. We see a bunch of posing here from the 80s-ish. Excuse me. Then we have Silver Samurai fighting in arena. Now, this actually taken from Cable. Believe in the first issue of the Gary Duggan for Cable. Yep, and we have Sabretooth working with the X-Men, which is interesting, along with Apocalypse, who in the main series, they actually fought this guy in the main series. Yes, they fought, but yeah, they're all good guys now. So yeah, then we have, this is their version of the Quiet Council. It's having like multiple different, it's not stuff like a table here, table there, table there. It's like, not like all over the place, where it's like 3 different levels of tables. Here it's one round table, and the people part of this Quiet Council consists of Apocalypse, Charles Xavier, Magneto, Emma Frost, who I should point out though only appeared in one story arc of the animated series. One. Dark Phoenix Saga. We also have Wolverine, Angel, Mr. Sinister. Yes, Mr. Sinister, the same guy who tormented Cyclops. Jean Grey, Storm. I think that's it. But yeah, that's your quiet council for you. Plus, we have classic '90s news articles, which I'm glad the fact included in here, and we have version of the Tri-Sentinel, because of course we do. Yep. And then we have then we have a version here of get this. We have Archon show up in this book because I think he did show up in the main series. So then we have a version of the X of Swords crossover. Yes. First we have the Formation of Krakatoa. Now we have a version of X of Swords where it's basically the X-Men not fighting the other war. We basically have the X-Men versus, like in this game, where they take on a version of the Brood with Juggernaut, Lady Deathstrike, Miss Marvel, which is strange. Eric the Red, which I think he appeared in like one episode of the series, probably Dr. Big Saga. Arcade, and I don't know who these air aliens are. It could be anybody, I'm not really sure. Oh, excuse me. Oh, they're actually Pestilence, Famine, and War. Yeah, they're basically the Horsemen. Apocalypse. Yep, so fight. And everyone's got swords. And by the way, this Brood is not Brood. It's a robot controlled by Deadpool, who was banned from Krakatoa in this reality. I think in the main one, I don't think he was bothered. And then we have, apparently, Wolverine killing Lady Deathstrike. And here's the strange thing about this. You might be curious, though, has Wolverine ever done this in the main continuity? No. She has died once, then she came back mysteriously for some unexplained reason. Also, she does not have this outfit anymore. Nope. This outfit's associated with a 90s look for her. Nowadays, her look is based upon her look when it was worn when she was played by Kelly Wu in X2 X-Men United. So she dies. Then we have Archon vs. Apocalypse, two characters who in the main continuity never met. Yeah, Archon has never met him. And Archon dies, get killed by someone called Genesis. Yeah, this is their version of Apocalypse's like unknown wife he apparently had for decades. Which, yeah, the name Genesis also named it was a clone's son, like his clone that he had. But this is based upon the character who appeared in that crossover, and of course going to Arkilla, which basically was something formed from Krakatoa. Yeah, and everybody gets revived. Also, during the events of that crossover, they briefly put the Federation on hiatus because Rockslide got killed in Otherworld and couldn't come back because he died in Otherworld, couldn't be brought back at all. So Beast got corrupted. Yes, we have Beast. He got corrupted, become Dark Beast. Yes. And he kind of becomes basically a final villain of the series for some reason. And then we have a version of the Hellfire Gala. Yes, an event that was somewhat really pointless. Excuse me. It led to two things. Mormon Tiger being outed as one being indirectly responsible for creation of Krakatoa. And two, the trial of Magneto, which, well, apparently death of Scarlet Witch, which unlocked a bunch of people get resurrected who've been dead for a long time. Yeah. So, yeah, Beast become evil. And, of course, then we have the vote like, oh, here's your X-Men. Yes, random. Who, by the way, never joined the X-Men continuity. Nope. This is a take on that, except in that book. Now, yes, Rogue did join the group as part of that particular book. The lamp did change with this vote, per se. Basically, they kept Cyclops and Jean Grey on the team, and they added Laura, Skin. There was actually a few people they added to the team. Let's see here if I can find it here. Excuse me. Yeah, I'm trying to remember the lineup they had. Okay, basically they elected or Rogue, Sunfire, Snick, and Polaris, along with Sunfire. They were added to the team. But in this group, it's basically Polaris, like the main continuity. Rogue, yes. I don't know who the other guy is in random. Now, here's the thing. Spider-Man was officially part of this party, too. And, of course, we have this guy here, Adam X, who is been kind of confirmed to be Charles Xavier's nephew. We have the Phoenix. And then we have Asteroid X. Which apparently this is where Arcuro is on. Which in the main continuity, it's on Mars. Yep. Yep. And of course, well, then we deal with like death of the people, of course. More homages to 90s artwork, which I do appreciate the in here. They lead to the very end with, oh yeah, by the way, Storm, like in the main continuity, is the queen of that particular thing, Queen Regent. And, well, yeah, basically take on that. And not much else per se, but it's an absolute, I thought this would be pretty good. So you can kind of think of it, if you don't like the Krakatoa stuff, read this, because you kind of think of this as Krakatoa, but done better. And it's contained into a 5-issue miniseries. Otherwise, it's basically spread to about 50 different books. But I thought the book was really good. It's kind of surprising that the XCII went this route. They went with the Krakatoa route. And yet they're getting another animated series soon. Alright, next up we have is Deadpool Black, White, and Blood. Excuse me. Bunch of writers on here. These are basically 4 issues. We have Read Over by Tom Taylor and Phil Noto. This is issue 1. We have Hotline to Heaven by Ed Bronson and Wallace Paccio. Born in the Arthur, done by the writer, artist, and letterer James Snokey. Purple Craze, David and Maria Lepper with Pete Woods on the artwork. Deadpool Party, Carl Paccio, Leonard Kirk. Pool of Death, done by writer and artist credit for this one, Dana Warren Johnson. Issue 3, we have The Worst Coming to My World, done by Jay Barshaw and Paco Medina. The Bet, Frank Terry and Dostoevsky. Perfect Ones, Stan Sacky. Yeah, he does writing, artwork, and lettering. Basically, this is let's. The best way to describe that one is, what if Stan Sacky had? It's basically him doing Deadpool in the style of Usagi Arjimbo. Cherry, written by Christopher Yost, art by Paccio. Samurai Version, written by Shishiro Kashima and Hakuro Uski. This is basically just, the best way to describe that story is that it's an advertisement for Deadpool Samurai, a manga featuring Deadpool, which I have not read it yet, but it's interesting how Deadpool's got manga. Yeah, it's kind of weird. And I have Operation Payback, done by Mike and Laura Aldred. Yep. Now, Read Over is simply put. Now, this is of course done by Tom Taylor. You could say this book is the best way to describe it. This is set after the penultimate story of Tom Taylor's run on Wolverine, because Gabby's here, and it's basically taking on a corporation because of animal experience. Yep, I found the story to be pretty good. As for the next story, which comes right after that one, which is Hotline to Heaven, which, yeah, not much really to say here. Just Deadpool, just doing weird stuff. Not much going on here. The next story, which is just Deadpool working with, looks like Omega Red. First story. Yeah, it's basically Deadpool in Russia. That's simply what it is. For a second issue, we have Purple Craze, where it's simply put, Deadpool meets the Purple Man. Yep, it's him working with Purple Man in the story. Yep, that's simple what it is. The party is simply Deadpool killing people in a party. Like, I've already discussed two versions. Let's see. Uh, Pool of Death, it just probably, Liefeld probably drawing a version of Deadpool. It's something about Liefeld to get a chance to do any story for this one. Yes, for some reason he couldn't do this one. Yeah, and then we have just Deadpool with Bullseye in the worst cover of the world. And then hit me up with Domino. Yep, I don't want to show up the gory artwork. I don't want to be censored. I was talking a San Sega story. But it's pretty good here. For the second of these Black, White, and Blood books, it's pretty good. None of the stories are bad here. I have roughly about 2 more left to cover. Because of the ones which have released, actually it's 3 left. Because you also got Wolverine, Elektra, and Moon Knight. Now, all these characters make total sense to basically have this particular type of label with it. I mean, first you had Carnage, then Deadpool, then Wolverine, Elektra, and Moon Knight. They all make perfect sense. And apparently Darth Vader is getting one. You're thinking, really? Darth Vader is getting a miniseries of this one? Yes. And you're probably thinking, okay, who else would work with this one? Who else would work with these type of anthology books which are very violent? The only other character I could possibly think of, aside from Darth Vader, who could work for this stuff is the Punisher. Yep, he's definitely one. I could probably say maybe Iron Man. Maybe. Iron Man, maybe Thor. Captain America, maybe. Spider-Man, no. Not Spider-Man. Spider-Man would not work for these stories at all. Let's see. Because these stories are usually very violent. So the only characters I could possibly do this type of stuff is, the top of my head is probably Punisher. Yes, Punisher. I'd say just Punisher. Yeah, Punisher. Oh, maybe Blade. Blade is definitely another one. He definitely would work for these type of stories. Yeah, because these stories are very violent. Anybody else who associated with Marvel aside from Punisher and Blade? Would Doctor Strange work? I don't think so. No, I don't think he would work. No. Iron Man might do mature stories. I mean, it doesn't have to be violent. He can do mature stories with Iron Man. And possibly Thor. But what about Captain America? Yeah, Captain America might work for mature stories. Not Spider-Man. No, not Spider-Man. Captain Marvel might work. But it probably ruined the sales of the main series. Possibly. Yeah, but not much to say about these books. Well, pretty good. Okay, so that's episode of you. Next episode is going to be Baruto. Okay, next video. Bye.